There's a myth that it's probably mythological, but they say, how do you pick a surgeon to train to be a surgeon? And I remember hearing this story. It was ask someone to think of 3 mistakes they made last week. And then, or think of a mistake, then another mistake, and another. And the great surgeon is one who can think of 3 or more. And about the thing that's most important, because people who really care deeply, I would love to re-edit all my sons. And it's very interesting. I think that it is always the process. It's always the next one. You mentioned earlier an interview I'd done. I never look at those things because I'm on to the next thing. In my own house, in the apartment I live in now, which is not my daughter lives in the house that I raised her in with 10,000 books. No one can move out of that house because there's too many books to move out. But in my own small, 2-bedroom apartment, I finally had to bring in my books, my own person that I had written, because when I'm doing an interview there, and I need to refer to something, because I'm into the new, what I'm creating now in the manuscript. And for me, I am at 27, 32 drafts, of a manuscript and that whole process, I know success is a matter for me of failing at higher and higher levels. In embracing the uprising. But I do think your book, The Rise, in this current political moment, is something I suggest that people go to for a variety of reasons, but most keenly because I think it's time for us to embrace our own lives as works of audacious art. And that the process you described for creatives is something that people that can inform and provide insight and wisdom to people creating this. I think the only way forward right now is to self-medicate with art, both to bring in art that already exists and to embrace this moment. It's not reason that we can't abandon reason and strategy and analysis, but we need inspiration. We need radical new paths forward because we have had, there's been radical, unpredictable, negative forces coming in.
Yeah.
And we must eclipse the negative with wild and positive, fecund imaginings.
Yeah, absolutely. The case that comes to mind, the example that's most of it when you say that, is I do think about and write about Frederick Douglass in there, politics in terms of failure, societal failure, which effectively it is. We're in a moment of societal failure to a certain degree in terms of the crisis we're in. Is actually a figure you might not expect me to say, Ben Saunders. There's an Arctic explorer, I write about it in this chapter on surrender, which is another way to also engage with the idea of mastery. When you constantly are faced with the blank page and the near win, it can feel defeating, right? And so the question is, how do you remain in a state of that radical joy in order to propel yourself forward? Surrender is key for that, which isn't giving up, but giving over to a larger condition, and then to harness the power you have to focus on what is meant for you. Ben Saunders is such a powerful, for me, example of that. He is a polar explorer, one of the only people in the world to have trudged to the North Pole and back on foot solo, South Pole as well. And I interviewed him for over the course of 2 years because I wanted to understand where his strength came from. And if you put your mind's eye on the North Pole, this is sub 50-degree temperatures, trudging a sledge on his back that was over 200 pounds. And it's the size of the United States, but depopulated. So mentally, all of these things, I wanted to know where it came from, what his training was like, what he did, how he overcame failure. And this is the kicker. When he would sleep at the end of a day, the ice sheets often would move in a way that would erase the gains from the day before. And he said, I can't think of another word that's better than surrender. Because in those moments, he had to focus himself on what he only could control. There's no point in getting upset the ice moving. What are you going to do? We are in this condition politically. What are we going to do? We haven't. I think now in terms of generation time, right? Those ice sheets move. The weather is one thing, but you have to think about the climate, right, of the era. And then harness the energy you need to consider how you, as a creative, we all are creatives, are built, right, for the moment.
And to only get that inch. I mean, a simple thing I would say on one side is that the world is divided between those people who get knocked down one more time than they get up, and those people who get up one more time and they get knocked down, because we are constantly being knocked down. And that idea, get it or die trying, like that is, and enjoy that surrender. That the triumph is, I will die trying. It's, I can't define whether I'm going to get it or not.
Right.
And then sometimes you find you get it. You get that balance. That.
I want to ask this in the context of what we're also celebrating here today, My Black Country, and your album and memoir. I read that you stopped writing songs in 1994. I might have the date wrong.
That's true.
That's right. So in the context of this idea of surrender, how do you see this moment of what I see as triumph? Are they connected?
In 1994, I had my biggest song. It's turned out to be 30 years later. It is considered a country classic, and it's a top recurrent song. But two things happened. One, the immediate critics called it a ditty that would be remembered for summer. That did not turn out to be true. It has the words of Aretha Franklin and Patsy Cline in it. I live to hear Aretha say how much she enjoyed. She said, "How does it feel to write a classic?" But more importantly, oddly, I did a very stupid thing around the time, right in the immediate aftermath of that song. I took a meeting, and a woman executive said to me, "My contract is coming up. Everyone thinks you'll go to another company because you're so successful right now. Will you just sign an extension on your contract? This changes nothing. Just sign the extension so I can go into my board and say, I've gotten this." And I signed it, and I was signing away. I said, "But I need to have a lawyer review it." And she said, "It doesn't do anything but extend the contract." I signed away the royalties to that, my biggest song. Something no one would have done. But I did something I did not read that contract. I knew I should have. I remember I said to her, "My daughter learned to swim in your pool," because I couldn't imagine betraying someone that way. And I think she literally said to me, "It's my job to trick you if I can." And I knew what I could do since I signed a contract. I could never write another song for them. And I did not write. And out of that rose The Wind Done Gone, which was huge, that I literally pivoted. Out of that, literally, which was a New York Times, which is something I'd always wanted to do, write a novel. That was my 41st birthday. So I said, "Well, I'm certainly not writing another song for you. I'm not for the highest bidder." And I've made that mistake, but I'm not making the next one. And so what was wild is, and then I've had this life that I loved writing The Wind Done Gone, which is, someone has said, the literary equivalent of Prissy slapping Scarlett back, documenting how Black women, including my grandmother, read Gone with the Wind, then doing Pushkin and the Queen of Spades from I read Pushkin, writing about that, writing Rebel Yell about a Black spy family that I may have never been part of, and then Ada's Rules about the Weight, and then Black Bottom Saints, which brought me close to my home roots. So that great failure of being robbed of probably effectively over $1 million, it was the making of it liberated me into writing the novels I wanted to write since I was writing my thesis on mothers and daughters and the novels of Jane Austen, but never got to.
My God.
But then pivot back to hearing those early songs. I had come to claim the Black experience in country music. So in 2018, again, diagnosed with, I had triple X negative breast cancer, that not good thing. I thought, what do I want to do? Write the story of Motown and Ziggy Johnson, who I didn't think got his due. This Black guy owned a dance school, and write the story I'd always meant to write of history of Black people in country music. So those 5 years. So part of it, again, from a very hard moment. I thought, I may only have 5 years to live. So what will I do? I said, I'm going to write these 2 books. They've been 5 of the greatest years of my life, and nothing has come back now. It's like, so I think, but then listening when Black Bottom Saints came out, listening to those old songs, with few exceptions, like the Ballad of Sally Ann, sung by John Cowan, who's one of the great voices of modern bluegrass, Mark O'Connor, who Isaac Stern said is a great American fiddler, violin player on it. It sounds like watching a lynching because it literally is viewing a lynching and not changing it, not stopping it. When Rhiannon Giddens sings the Ballad of Sally Ann on the new album,
Yes.
it is love eclipsing death and terror and trauma. It is Sally Ann who's watching her husband being lynched between the wedding and the reception, demanding some kind of reckoning, but more persisting in loving despite the terror, persisting in demanding this reckoning. And so to me, it is wild that one, like you, these young artists, Black women artists from around the diaspora, coming riding to the rescue like a posse of my legacy and bringing these songs up and giving them, I'm always interested in multiple meanings of singular text. And these women coming in and reclaiming these. And Allison Russell, we had one song that starts off with the Emily Dickinson quote like yours. It started, hope is a thing with feathers. And the song originally was In My Father's House Are Many Mansions from the King James Bible. Well, Allison rewrote the King James Bible and it's In My Mother's House Are Many Mansions, and that's a much better lyric. I love the audacity of it. I love the ongoing evolution. So I think that, but I definitely, from those two of the hardest moments, one, the theft of $1 million, and another, the diagnosis, rose my two, I think my strongest works.